Okay, let's dive right into this because it is literally one of the most painful paradoxes of human relationships. We all claim we want peace, right? Security, a partner who actually chooses us. Yet why is it that we so often run completely away from that peace and sprint directly toward anxiety? Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking the exact psychological patterns behind why we chase emotionally unavailable people. And as you'll see, it's not just bad luck in dating. There's so much more going on here.
So think about what we say we want versus what actually hooks us. We say we want an anchor, someone consistent, honest, present, but then when that predictable person actually shows up, we're kind of like, there's no spark. Instead, we get completely hooked by the unpredictable person. You know the type. They're incredibly warm and charming one day and totally distant the next. And here's the crazy part. We mistakenly call that intoxicating, gut-wrenching anxiety chemistry.
Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine a woman named Emma who meets a guy named Ryan. For 2 straight weeks, it's absolute magic. I'm talking late-night texts, feeling completely seen, the whole shebang. But then, the shift happens. He starts canceling plans, and when she asks what's wrong, he delivers the undisputed champion of vague dating excuses. Nothing, I've just been busy. Just like that, 2 weeks of intense connection devolves into Emma sitting around, waiting for digital breadcrumbs.
And this brilliantly illustrates a fascinating psychological trap. Uncertainty actually mimics chemistry. Psychologists call this the slot machine effect. Think about it. If a slot machine paid out every single time you pulled a lever, you'd get bored, right? But when the reward, like a sweet text or a compliment, appears totally randomly after a long period of silence, well, your brain is literally wired to keep pulling that lever. You aren't in love, you're just hooked on the gamble.
When you actually break down these emotional states, the danger becomes super clear. Predictable attention, it feels calm, resolved, safe. Unpredictable attention, on the other hand, feels like a blaring fire alarm. It keeps your focus locked entirely on them. You start analyzing every little thing, like, should I wait an hour to reply? Did I say the wrong thing? And when they finally give you a crumb of attention, that massive wave of relief feels exactly like love. But actually, scratch that. It's not love. It's just the temporary soothing of your own anxiety.
But wait, there is an even deeper layer here. Reason 2 for this behavior. You're actually chasing a familiar feeling. We don't always choose what's healthy. Honestly, we usually choose what we know. If affection in your early life was inconsistent, or if you felt like you had to earn it by performing, your nervous system essentially learned that closeness is a game. So an emotionally unavailable person today, they don't feel like a stranger to your brain. Strangely enough, they feel like home.
So I want you to ask yourself honestly, are you chasing the person right in front of you, or are you chasing a different ending to an older story? We subconsciously hold on to this belief that if we can just get this one distant person to stay, we'll rewrite history and finally prove that we're lovable enough. But winning them over today doesn't magically heal those old childhood wounds of feeling hard to choose. It really just keeps you trapped in the exact same loop.
Let's move to reason 3 and see how this builds, because this is a surprising truth. Fantasy actually feels way safer than real intimacy. Emotionally unavailable people leave this massive amount of empty space in our lives, and what do? We fill it up with their potential. Fantasy is safe, it's perfect, you control it. Real intimacy is messy, it requires conflict, compromise, and actually exposing your flaws. We might be choosing unavailable people simply because they protect us from being truly deeply known.
Which forces a deeply challenging, almost scary question. What would happen if someone fully available showed up tomorrow? Seriously, would you trust it? Or would you feel totally exposed and immediately start searching for reasons it's going to fail? Sometimes the chase isn't just about a fear of rejection. It's this underlying fear that you might not actually know how to handle real, present love if it finally knocked on your door.
The trap deepens with reason 4 when we start tying our value to their choice. When someone refuses to commit, it triggers this painful, deep-rooted belief of, I am not enough. So what do? We turn the relationship into a grueling trial of our own self-worth. You start changing your behavior, shrinking your needs to be easier to love, just waiting for their verdict. We completely forget that their inability to choose us is about their emotional capacity. It has absolutely nothing to do with our worth.
And here is reason 5, perhaps the most hidden truth of the whole shebang. The chase protects you from making your own choice. By pouring literally all your emotional energy into wondering, will they text? How can I get them to choose me? You get to remain entirely passive. By letting them hold all the power, you avoid the heavy, difficult responsibility of asking, wait, does this person even respect me? And doing the hard work of setting boundaries and walking away.
So, what does this all mean for us? And how do we actually break out of this cycle? Well, it requires some radical honesty. Let's run through a rapid-fire 5-question test right now to force some immediate self-reflection. Question 1. Do you actually like them, or are you just trying to earn them? Strip away that initial 2 weeks of magic. Look at exactly who they are today. Do you genuinely admire their behavior, or are you just desperately hyper-focused on winning their approval?
Moving to question 2, I want you to check in with your nervous system. Does the connection give you peace, or does it require constant investigation? Look, in a healthy dynamic, you feel secure enough to just be yourself. If you are constantly playing detective, studying text response times, overanalyzing their tone, that isn't peace. That's a state of permanent emotional emergency, and you absolutely cannot build a solid foundation on confusion.
Question 3. Are you attached to the person or the possibility? Let's look at the hard evidence here. Have they taken real, tangible steps toward a committed future with you? Or are you building an entire relationship in your head based on a few intense moments and vague promises? Remember this, potential is not commitment. You simply cannot date a projection of who someone might become.
Okay, here's a really revealing one. Question 4. Would you still want them if they became fully available? Imagine right now that the chase is totally gone. They text you every day. They communicate honestly. They want to commit. Would you still feel that intense spark? You got to be honest with yourself here. If the attraction vanishes the exact moment the anxiety does, then uncertainty was literally the only thing holding it together.
Finally, to conclude the test, ask yourself, what are you sacrificing to remain available to them? Hope is incredibly expensive. To keep waiting around for this person, you are sacrificing your time, your confidence, your sleep, and your peace of mind. That is a massive cost. You have to recognize when the price of keeping someone in your life is literally your entire emotional well-being.
So the crucial point is this. To map a way out, you have to rewrite your own rules. First, stop treating confusion as a challenge to work harder. Start judging long-term patterns rather than rare little breadcrumb moments. Create a minimum standard for basic emotional respect. Practice tolerating healthy calm without immediately calling it boring. Ask directly for what you want, and please stop auditioning. A healthy connection is a mutual choice, not a performance.
Let's see how this looks in action, returning to Emma's story. After 3 agonizing weeks of radio silence, Ryan reemerges with the ultimate, classic breadcrumb text, "I've been thinking about you. I'm sorry I disappeared. I've just had a lot going on." Now, the old Emma, she would have jumped at this. She would have eagerly accepted the excuse and immediately shrunk her needs down just to get that hit of connection.
But this time, Emma uses her new standards. She pauses. She asks directly for a real, consistent relationship and refuses to accept a dynamic that thrives on uncertainty. And after taking an entire day to reply, Ryan gives her a painful but incredibly clear boundary. He says he cannot give her that right now. It hurts, obviously, but it's the truth.
Now, what's really interesting about this resolution is Emma's reaction. She doesn't offer to wait around. She doesn't bend over backwards trying to change his mind. She simply replies, "Then this is not the relationship I choose." Wow. By sticking to her standard, she finally stops abandoning herself. She realizes her job isn't to translate his potential into commitment. Her job is to protect her own peace.
This is the ultimate mindset shift you have to make. We spend so much time trapped in our own heads with self-blame, constantly asking, how can I make them love me? How can I be better? You have got to move away from that anxiety and step into empowered clarity. Objectively look at what's actually being offered to you and ask instead, why am I calling this love when it requires me to abandon myself just to keep it? I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. When someone repeatedly fails to meet your needs, your gut instinct is probably to assume your needs are the problem. But look at the reality. You aren't asking for too much. You just might be asking the wrong person. The moment you stop chasing those who won't choose you, you create the space for a connection that doesn't punish you with silence. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Raise your standards and stop auditioning for love.